On the dusty, cold mining world of Avaris 9, humans were no longer free beings but mere tools of the Saval Dominion, an ancient and powerful alien empire that had conquered countless species across the galaxy. For almost 100 years, humanity had been scattered like broken pieces of a once proud puzzle, forced into endless labor in the Dominion's deepest mines, stripped of their dignity and hope. Among these slaves was Alara Voss, a woman whose sharp mind had once led armies and shaped battles, but who now found herself reduced to hauling heavy loads of ore through dark tunnels where the sunlight never reached. Despite the heavy chains of oppression around her, Alara had not forgotten who she was or what humanity could become. Secretly, she maintained a fragile but vital network of communication between hidden groups of enslaved humans on different Dominion worlds, using old, mining machinery to send coded signals in bursts of static, signals the Dominion never suspected. One evening, while repairing a broken relay, she intercepted a strange transmission unlike anything she had heard before. It was in a dead human dialect long thought lost, carrying words of hope and survival. The message spoke of Earth, the forgotten, home planet still existing beyond the Dominion's reach, untouched and waiting. That single fragment of truth ignited a spark deep within Alara's soul, something the Dominion feared most: hope. For years, the Dominion's leaders had warned that hope was the seed of rebellion, and now Alara felt that seed begin to grow in the hearts of her people. Driven by this fragile light, she ventured into a part of the mines few dared to enter, following old maps and half-forgotten stories from elders who spoke of a time when humans were free. There, beneath layers of rock and forgotten debris, she discovered a hidden chamber filled with relics from a long-lost era, ancient weapons, tools and technology crafted by humans before the fall. It was an armory, sealed away to protect humanity's legacy and strength for a future that had seemed impossible until now. Alara's lips curved into a rare smile, a small but fierce blaze of defiance in a world of shadows. As she held the cold metal of a forgotten rifle, the weight of years of suffering seemed to lift for a moment. She knew this was just the beginning. The Dominion's control was strong, but the will to fight, to reclaim their identity and freedom, was stronger. Every stolen moment of secret communication, every small act of resistance, had prepared her for the fire that was about to be unleashed. In the silence of the mines, under the endless glow of ore dust, Alara Voss made a silent promise, not just to herself, but to all humans enslaved across the stars. They were not tools. They were not broken. They were warriors waiting to rise. The chains that bound them might be heavy, but the human spirit once set ablaze could never be extinguished. And so, in the darkest depths of Avaris 9, the first ember of rebellion was lit, ready to spread like wildfire through the galaxy. After discovering the hidden armory, Alara Voss did not waste a moment. She knew that hope alone would not free her people. It needed action, careful and precise. Using the ancient tech she found, Alara began reaching out to scattered human enclaves on different Dominion worlds. Slowly, almost like smoke drifting through cracks in a wall, she wove together a secret network called the Ashes. This network was quiet, disciplined, and deadly. Not a storm of shouting warriors, but a slow, burning fire that could consume the Dominion from within. The Ashes started small. Power grids flickered in Dominion cities, transport ships vanished without warning, and mining equipment broke down at critical moments. To the Dominion rulers, these were nothing but accidents and system failures, but to Alara and her people, they were signs of life, a pulse beneath the Dominion's iron fist. In the quiet moments between sabotage missions, memories haunted Alara's mind. She remembered the first human rebellion on Earth, crushed in fire and blood decades ago. She saw again the faces of children taken away, deemed too dangerous to grow free, labeled docile hostages to break the human spirit. The pain of those memories was fuel, turning into purpose sharper than any weapon. The fight was not just for freedom, but to honor those who suffered in silence. Amid this growing resistance, Alara found an unexpected ally. Mech, a cybernetic Sval soldier who had turned his back on the Dominion after witnessing humanity's courage and refusal to bow. Mech's mechanical enhancements made him a deadly force, but it was his questions about the Dominion's cruelty that made him invaluable. Together, Alara and Mech planned a daring strike on a key Dominion refinery, a place that refined the ore fueling the Empire's war machines. The operation was risky. One wrong move would mean death or worse. But under the cover of night, the refinery exploded in a controlled accident, flames licking the sky and alarms blaring. This was the first open, human-led offensive in decades, a clear message that the ashes were no longer hiding in the shadows. The Dominion authorities could no longer ignore the signs. The Viceroy, the ruthless leader of the Sval Dominion, issued a chilling decree across the sector. If humans dream again, we will silence them forever. His words were meant to crush hope, but instead they stoked the fires of rebellion. The ashes grew bolder, spreading their reach quietly but steadily. Alara's vision was clear, not to topple the Dominion in a single battle, but to unravel their power thread by thread until freedom was inevitable. In hidden caves, old tunnels, and forgotten outposts, humans gathered. They trained, they planned, and they waited for the moment when the world would hear the sound of their uprising. The Dominion thought they had broken humanity, but Alara knew better. The ashes remembered every wrong, every loss, and every stolen dream. And like fire waiting beneath cold ash, they were ready to burn away the chains and rise. The quiet rebellion that had begun as small sparks was now growing into a fierce blaze, and the ashes were no longer just whispers in the shadows, but a force demanding attention. Deep in a hidden shipyard carved beneath the rocky surface of a forgotten moon, Alara and her crew unveiled their greatest achievement yet, a warship unlike any the Dominion had seen before. Named the Vindicator, the vessel was pieced together from scrap metal, stolen Dominion technology, and the ancient human blueprints Alara had uncovered. It was lean, fast, and deadly, designed for hit-and-run attacks that would disrupt the Dominion's control across the star systems. Alara took command of the Vindicator herself, steering it through daring raids on supply convoys and mining stations. Each successful strike sent a ripple of hope through the enslaved humans, who began to call her Flameheart, a name born from her fiery spirit and the burning determination she carried inside. Meanwhile, Mech, the cybernetic former Sval soldier, worked tirelessly in the shadows, hacking into the Dominion's vast archives to find anything that could turn the tide. His efforts uncovered something astonishing: blueprints for a forbidden weapon known as Project Iron Veil, built by humans before their fall, but hidden away to keep it from the Dominion's grasp. This weapon promised power beyond imagination, a secret that could change the war forever. But victory was not without its price. In one of their raids, the Vindicator was ambushed by Dominion drones, machines cold and relentless, programmed to kill without mercy. The battle was brutal, lasting hours in the cold emptiness of space, and though the ashes managed to escape, the cost was devastating. Hundreds of brave fighters died to buy only seconds of retreat, a heartbreaking reminder that freedom came with sacrifice. The Dominion, sensing the rising threat, retaliated by deploying a terrifying new force: Psi-Wardens, telepathic enforcers capable of sensing and crushing rebellion thoughts before they could grow. These enforcers could invade minds, snuffing out resistance silently and turning hope into despair. The threat was unlike anything Alara had faced before. But instead of surrendering, the ashes hardened their resolve. Alara knew that fear was a weapon the Dominion used to control, but human spirit was stronger than any psychic chains. As the Vindicator flew through Dominion space, launching precise attacks that disrupted supply lines and communications, Alara prepared for a broadcast that would echo across the galaxy. With a steady voice and burning eyes, she sent her message out over Dominion space waves. "We are not your slaves. We are the storm you failed to see coming." Her words carried the IG weight of generations and the promise of change. The broadcast was more than a message. It was a declaration of war, a rallying cry for every human held captive and every being who dreamed of freedom. The Dominion's silence after the message was heavy with unease. Alara and her crew knew their fight was far from over, but the sound of steel and fire they had begun to make was now unstoppable. They were no longer hiding in the shadows. They were the storm-gathering strength, ready to sweep across the stars and reclaim what had been stolen. The ashes had grown from flickering sparks into a raging blaze, and their most daring mission yet was about to begin. A strike at the very heart of the Dominion's power, the core vault where the central AI bureaucracy stored every record, every secret, and every lie about humanity's place in the galaxy. This was where the Dominion erased the history of humans, labeling them as mere subspecies, as tools with no right to freedom or identity. The plan was bold, a multi-pronged assault combining human fighters, alien defectors who had grown tired of the Dominion's rule, and machines that had broken free from their programming. Together they would storm the vault, hoping to corrupt the digital memory that kept humanity buried beneath layers of propaganda and control. Ilara led the charge, knowing the risks were higher than ever. Inside the vault, the walls pulsed with cold light and the silence was thick with danger. As they breached deeper, Ilara found herself face to face with a Psi Warden, the Dominion's terrifying telepathic enforcers designed to crush rebellion before it could begin. What followed was a brutal mind duel, a battle fought not with weapons, but with wills, memories, and mental strength. The Psi Warden tried to shatter Ilara's mind, to drag her into madness and obedience, but she fought back with every ounce of her determination. The struggle nearly broke her, shaking her sense of self to its core, but she held on. Meanwhile, the ashes moved swiftly, corrupting the Dominion's history archives. Files that once erased humans from existence now became riddled with errors, bugs and viruses. Humanity was no longer just a forgotten footnote. It was a virus in the system, a persistent threat that refused to be deleted. But this victory came at a terrible cost. Mech, Ilara's trusted ally and cybernetic friend, knew the mission's final step required a sacrifice. To destroy the core's fusion node and ensure the vault's destruction, someone had to stay behind. Mech chose to be that someone, detonating the node and causing a massive explosion that rocked the vault and shook the foundations of the Dominion's power. His last message to Ilara was a simple promise, that the fight would continue, that freedom was worth any price. In the chaos that followed, Dominion networks began to crash one after another, systems going dark across entire sectors. Propaganda broadcasts faltered and faded, and the once unshakable image of the Dominion's control started to crumble. The ripple effect was immediate and profound. Enslaved species across the galaxy began to rise up, inspired by the ashes, defiance, and the message Mech's sacrifice had sent. A new battle cry echoed from hidden corners and dark prisons. We are human-born. We rise with fire. It was no longer just humanity fighting for survival. It was a coalition of all those who refused to live in chains. Ilara, battered but unbroken, watched as the galaxy's old order began to fall apart. The Dominion's legacy, built on lies and oppression, was burning to the ground, and from the ashes a new future was being born. The road ahead was dangerous, filled with unknown threats and the heavy weight of loss. But for the first time in generations, the possibility of freedom was real. Ilara's mind burned with determination and hope. They had struck the heart of the Dominion's control, and though the war was far from over, the legacy of slavery was crumbling. The galaxy was waking up, and humanity, once broken, now rising, would lead the fire that could never be put out. The final battle for freedom had arrived, and the once distant hope now blazed like a wildfire in the heart of the Dominion itself. On Volara, the very seat of their power, the ashes, no longer just a scattered band of rebels, had become a fleet of broken ships welded together with sheer will and hope. Each ship carried the weight of generations of suffering, yet also the fierce desire to end the Dominion's reign once and for all. Ilara stood on the bridge of the Vindicator, her eyes burning with determination as the fleet approached Volara's orbit. The Dominion's defenses were strong, but the ashes had learned to fight smarter, faster, and with the passion that only those who had been enslaved could understand. Their first target was the Dominion's cultural hall, a massive monument, built to celebrate their own purity and supremacy, a twisted symbol of everything they stood against. Leading the ground strike, Alara moved through the towering halls with a mix of fury and sorrow, memories of what had been stolen from her people fueling her every step. The hall was not just stone and metal. It was a fortress of lies, built to erase the histories and identities of countless species, especially humans. As the battle raged around her, Alara found herself face to face with the Saval viceroy, the cold ruler who had once declared that humans would be silenced forever. Now he stood before her offering surrender terms. If humanity would serve again, bow down and accept their chains, he promised to spare what remained of their people. But Alara's answer was fierce and simple. Without hesitation, she lit a torch and set the central tower ablaze, flames roaring to life and climbing higher with every heartbeat. The fire consumed more than just the building. It devoured the Dominion's claim to immortality and power. Smoke and ash filled the sky, a dark cloud that no ruler could hide behind. Around the world, the Dominion subjects saw the flames and felt something they had never dared before: hope. The rebellion was no longer a whisper or a shadow. It was a roaring storm that could not be stopped. As the flames spread, Alara took a moment to record a message for the galaxy. Her voice, steady and strong despite the chaos. "They called us slaves," she said, "but we remembered how to fight. Now they will remember us, for we burned their legacy to the ground." The words echoed through space, carried on every frequency, reaching ears that had long forgotten what it meant to be free. And as the Dominion's capital crumbled, the galaxy held its breath, waiting for the dawn that Alara and the Ashes had fought so hard to bring. This was not the end, but a new beginning. The rise of a future forged from fire, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of those who refused to be slaves any longer.